Hey, it's BGV. Welcome back to Fallout New Vegas, ladies and gentlemen. In the last episode, we were doing the Oh My Papa quest, which involves the Great Khans and splitting up the allegiance between them and Caesar's Legion. You may remember that we had to sort of do quests for a bunch of people to convince them to convince Papa Khan to break up the allegiance. And we have one more person, convince Melissa to speak out against Caesar, and this person is, of course, in Quarry Junction, one of the most challenging locations in all of Fallout New Vegas, and the reason for that is because there are a ton of death claws that are extremely powerful. And basically, let's take a look at the world map here. I went in through the front of Quarry Junction and tried to sneak to the back, but there's death claws all over the place, and there's like three versions. There's young death claws, which I can kill. There's normal death claws, which would pretty much take all the ammo I have for a certain weapon, and they'd probably kill me anyways. And then there's like these big black tinted ones that can kill me in one hit. So I just tried probably about, 15 times, and I was never able to get past them, even with 100 sneak, and I wasn't able to find a stealth boy. Anyways, I found out there's like a secret location in the back here that you can cut straight to where all the Great Khans are, and this is a much easier way of doing things, but you still have to fight through like 100 rad scorpions, so it's still challenging, but nevertheless, finally here we are.
That's close enough. What do you want with the Great Khans?
Regis says I should talk to you about speaking against the Great Khan's alliance with Caesar.
You can ask, but why would I do that? Carl told me all about the life in the Legion. He says I've got all the makings of a speculatory.
Did he also tell you women aren't permitted to serve in the Legion?
What? No, What do you mean aren't allowed to serve? Why would he lie about that?
If the Great Khans join the Legion, you'll be sold as a slave, an officer's wife if you're lucky.
That lying little weasel. I almost fell for it too. Alright, you've got a deal. You can tell Papa I won't support an alliance.
Okay, time for me to go.
Later.
And we have convinced everybody. Can we sleep on these cots, for God's sakes? Thank you so much. Jesus, you guys have no clue because you're not going to see it because I edited it all out, but God, I had to fight through Cazadors, Rad Scorpions, and, including all the stuff with the Death Claws, but finally we were able to do it nevertheless. You know what I realized? I mean, we are doing the main quest, although these, like I said, they're sort of not the main quest because each one of these are their own isolated quests as well, but we are doing these a little bit early because we jumped straight into it, but nevertheless, let's see, I don't think these people have any more dialogue. Okay, talk to Papa Khan about breaking the alliance. Let's head back to Red Rock Canyon. Alright, and it placed us right in front of the Longhouse. We have convinced Jack and Diane because they strung up a drug peddler and that is their business. We have convinced Regis because we found out Carl to be a fake. We have convinced Melissa because women are not allowed to serve, and I believe that is everyone. So let's talk to Papa Khan.
All four of my most trusted advisors have told me we should break our alliance. Maybe I should hear you out after all.
I've come to ask the Great Khans to break their alliance with Caesar's Legion.
I've heard some things from my most trusted Khans that makes me wonder whether this alliance is a good idea after all. But I want to leave a legacy of greatness when I die. My tribe deserves better than this, cowering in a canyon and living on scraps. Tell me then, if I don't join with Caesar's Legion, where will I find my tribe's lost glory?
Well, we don't have the speech. Any idea where I might look to find such inspiration from the past?
The followers of the Apocalypse keep many records of the past. It's been a long time since we associated with them, but they might have something. Until you do find me something, though, know that I still plan to lead the Great Khans to fight for Caesar.
Okay, just when we thought the quest was done, it is not. Talk to the followers of the Apocalypse about the Great Khans. Talk to Papa Khan about breaking the alliance. So it looks like, I'm guessing we're heading back to the old Mormon fort to talk to some of the followers there. Alright, here we are inside of the old Mormon fort. I'm going to guess it's going to direct me to Julie Farkas, and indeed it is.
Emily says you're working with her on bugging the Lucky 38. That information would be invaluable to our research if you can get it done.
Yeah, about that. That quest sort of failed. I'm looking for something that could inspire the Great Khans. Know of anything like that?
The Great Khans. Oh, you mean those raiders that used to clash with the Vegas tribes? Yes, some years back we taught them reading, writing, basic science. We hoped they would use it to make medical supplies, but they turned to drugs. I was never much involved in the cultural side of that project, but Ezekiel was.
Who is Ezekiel?
He's a member of the Followers like myself, but his particular field is pre-war history and tribal culture. I do recall him being fascinated by the Khans. He kept going on about parallels to some ancient historical empire or another.
Where can I find this Ezekiel?
He rarely stops in here these days. You do best to look for him out in the wastes east of New Vegas. He's always looking for new tribes to study.
Okay, on second thought, never mind. That's kind of
Was
an
there
odd
something
way
else you
to
needed?
end this conversation. You know what? I was going to do this quest soon, so let's go ahead and do this too. The king said you could tell me more about his robotic dog. If you remember when we were talking to the king, he had a robotic dog named Rex.
Rex? It breaks my heart every time I see him. He's such a good dog.
The king brought him here for treatment then.
Yes, a few months ago. We had to tell him there was nothing we could do.
So you can't heal him?
No, Rex's condition is way beyond anything we can handle. He requires brain surgery and some sophisticated cybernetics work too.
So there's no chance he'll ever get better?
I didn't say that. While no one here has that kind of expertise, I do know of one man who might fit the bill. There's an old scientist named Dr. Henry who reportedly specializes in this sort of procedure. He'd probably be your best bet. Last I heard, he was living up in Jacobstown, far to the northwest.
Thank you, you've been very helpful.
No problem.
Alright, we are done with Julie. Let's take a look at this quest. Oh my Papa. Talk to Ezekiel about the history of the Great Khans. Talk to Papa Khan about breaking the alliance. Where is this Ezekiel? Looks to be in some random spot next to the Mountain Shadows campground. Alright, so as we're making our way to this guy, some people have pointed out that because I like to use sniper so much, I should get the Gobi campaign rifle, and I definitely intend to do so. The only thing is, I have exactly, let's see, should be 0 308 rounds, so we're going to have to like stock up on some ammo before I do that. There would really be no point, but I will definitely get that sniper at some point. Why is it not switching to this? Switch. Thank you. Alright, so we do have Ezekiel right here. Hello, sir.
You look like someone with a question. What can I do for you?
Julie Farkas said you might know something about the Great Khans.
Oh my, yes. They're a fascinating tribe with a long and unfortunately tragic history. Their original incarnation, much farther out west, was almost completely wiped out by one of those itinerant heroes so common in the post-war years. Then, of course, the new Khans suffered a similar fate. Some say at the hands of the same hero, though of course the dates are all wrong for that.
This is fascinating. Please continue.
Well, after they migrated to the Mojave, we established relations with them, but that soured when all they wanted was to make drugs. The NCR eventually took them down quite a bit, but the really fascinating thing about them is the origin of their culture as a whole. You see...
I'd love to hear your dissertation now. Can I get the abridged version?
Oh, of course. I'm sorry, I do tend to get wrapped up in my own theories and forget that not everyone finds them as fascinating as I do. Here, I salvaged this book from an old library. It's a history of people called the Mongols. I think that's what the Khans built their culture on. You should read it. It's fascinating stuff.
Funny thing about the Mongols, I was a huge fan of Age of Empires 2, and I played it so much as a kid. And I would always pick the Mongols because I really like their unique unit, the Mangadais. Is that what it was called? I think so, like horse archers. Anyways, looks like we are pretty much done with this quest. We just need to go back to Red Rock Canyon and hand the information to Papa Smurf. By the way, that was not a slip of the tongue. I actually meant to say that. I just didn't explain the joke, but I thought it needed explaining. Anyways, back into the Longhouse. And I will check to see if we can read this. I mean, I believe that you can, but it's probably going to be super, super long. That's what I'm going to guess. Miscellaneous. No? Oh, it's actually an item. Okay, then. You might have noticed that it was called Pretty Pretty Horses. Let's see if we can see it. It should be miscellaneous, right? Pretty Pretty Horses. There we go. Pretty Pretty Horsies. A History of the Mongol Empire. A pretty weird name for such a deadly empire. Anyways.
Ah, you're back. What else do you need?
Okay, let's see. Have a look at this book if you want to see what your tribe could be. Read about the Mongol Empire. Have a look at this book. Your tribe is nothing but a bunch of thugs aping the glories of the past. Jeez. We don't have the speech option. What would Arizona say? Would Arizona really like the Great Khans? Probably not, because they're all drug peddlers. But maybe he wouldn't want to offend the leader anyways. Have a look at this book. If you want to see what your tribe could be, read about the Mongol Empire.
This is exactly the kind of symbol the Khans could unite behind. We'll begin readying the camp to move. As soon as Caesar makes his move, we'll depart. We will make ourselves strong again, and we shall conquer.
Hey, as long as you aren't fighting for Caesar, I don't care what you do.
Whatever your motivation was, I think we owe you a debt.
Great Khan's merciful thug. Despite your reputation as a thug, you are known to occasionally show a charitable side. What a weird classification. Alright, does Papa Khan...
I've got little enough patience for you. Consider your words carefully. You don't want me as an enemy.
Well, I already did, and then we were able to work out something. Yeah, I was going to say, does Papa Khan have any more dialogue? It does not appear so. Let's go back to data and quests. Wildcard side bets. Inform Yes Man that you convinced the Great Khans to leave the Mojave. So I'm going to double check, but I guess the single faction you can get to actually aid you... are the boomers. I don't think anybody else will actually aid you. I might be wrong, but yeah. Nevertheless, we're going to head back to Yes Man and finish off wildcard side bets. Alright, once more we are at the top of the Lucky 38. Let's head through those tattered rags and talk to Yes Man.
Oh, hi again. Can I help you with something else?
Let's talk about the tribes I should get to know.
Please, go on.
I convinced the Great Khans to leave the Mojave.
Maybe they'll be devoured by giant scorpions. All sorts of things can happen to them out there. That accounts for all the tribes you needed to get to know. You did a super job wrapping things up, and I'm not just saying that because I have to. Here's some big news. I decoded a military radio transmission, and it turns out the NCR president, Aaron Kimball, is going to visit Hoover Dam. I guess he wants to boost the troops' morale. But according to projections Mr. House made, he has an 83.75% chance of being assassinated. Whoops. Anyway, it looks like Mr. House thought it was important to keep President Kimball alive.
Why did Mr. House want Kimball kept alive?
Mr. House ran projections on how the NCR public will react to a defeat at Hoover Dam. Overwhelmingly, they'll blame Kimball. But if Kimball dies at Hoover Dam, there's no obvious scapegoat for them to blame, so they'll blame New Vegas instead. So that means reduced tourism for up to 5 years. The equations are pretty complicated. Mr. House sure liked numbers.
The NCR hates me. They won't let me within 1,000 feet of Kimball. What? Did we make enemies of the NCR? I guess so, because we were continuing on in the wild card route. But I don't remember actually hearing about them becoming my mortal enemy.
You are so misunderstood. Well, it's their loss. Forget about the president. We've got something more important to take care of. This gadget I'm handing you is called an override module. Mr. House had 2 of these made years and years ago. Just like him to think ahead. Take the module to the El Dorado substation and attach it to the power control terminal. I'll handle the rest.
What will the override module let you do?
I'll use the substation to send a huge jolt of electricity to the Lucky 38. Turns out this casino has its own reactor. All it needs is a jump start. With the reactor running at full tilt, I can boost the transmission strength of the Lucky 38's command and control network. I'm talking direct tactical control of dozens of Securitrons at vast distances. That might come in handy. It's probably a good thing that you blew up those hundreds of Securitrons over at the fort. Controlling hundreds might have been confusing.
Yes, I know everyone thinks that was the wrong route to go. You don't have to keep hammering it in. Okay, I'll get it done.
Great! When this is taken care of, we'll be all set for the Legion to make its move.
Alrighty. Caesar's Legion, shunned. You've left a poor impression on the community and may be shunned as a result. You know what? I am not too worked up about that. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, quest failed, render unto Kaisar. Anything else for me? Quest failed, I hear you knocking. You know, if this was Fallout 3, I would know what each and every one of these quests are, but Fallout New Vegas, as I've mentioned, I have not played nearly as much. Quest failed, the Finger of Suspicion. But, I mean, this is kind of natural depending on which route you go. NCR, Kaisar's Legion, Yes Man. Depending on what you pick, you know, you get shut out of a lot of other stuff. Quest failed, Kaisar's Hire. Quest failed, Kaisar's Favor. You'll notice we would have had a lot of things to do for Kaisar, and to be quite honest, I didn't really enjoy a lot of it. Quest failed, Don't Tread on the Bear. That was the one for helping the NCR rather than going your own way. Quest failed, Things That Go Boom. So these are probably all the NCR quests that we can't do now. Beware the Wrath of Kaisar. That was the one where it was basically the same one as Don't Tread on the Bear, except for Kaisar's Legion. Okay, there we go. Let's take a look at our quest before we end this episode here. Wildcard finishing touches. Go to the El Dorado power station and install the override ship. We will hold off on any and all main quests for now because we have a bunch of other stuff to do. Nothing but a Hound Dog side quest, tend to your business side quest, Cold Heart, spread word of Legion atrocities. We won't be doing that, I don't think. Oh, actually, no, we might, because I think that is actually a side quest. Sierra Madre DLC. That is DLC as well, DLC. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to pick and choose what we're going to be doing next, and we will do that in the next episode. But for now, we are completely done with the main quest stuff for the time being. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.